Kunal Sawhney, thank you so much for joining me in the Channel's Business Global studio. I know this is a quick stop because you're heading off to India before Australia.
Yes.
Before you do that, can you just give me your own assessment of what the world has been witnessing over the past couple of months? I think it's fair to say the trouble hasn't started with Liz Truss. We had so many issues with Boris Johnson, but now it's probably best to say to our viewers this is pre-recorded because the Prime Minister could be out.
Yes. So that's absolutely correct. She could be out. Okay. The biggest worry I have is for the economy. As you can see, the pound is falling down quite quickly against the US dollar. That can really affect a UK household. Already we are going through an energy crisis, and that can again further put pressure on UK households. So I think right now it's not about Liz Truss, whether she stays in or she stays out, or she goes, but the key thing over here is, can she handle the economy? That's a big worry over here. And I think if she is staying in, then she really needs to work hard to pulling back UK households from red into green, because the pound has fallen tremendously, and this could be really, really bad for the UK economy if they don't do things now. So if she resigns, I think a good move would be to bring back Rishi in, and Rishi can be the next Prime Minister. He has been in the Treasury. He has been, he has done a wonderful job during COVID. I think he has got a safe pair of hands, and we need to let Liz Truss go.
It's interesting that you talk about Rishi Sunak, who did well amongst Conservative MPs. During the hustings in the summer, he was the favourite until it went out to the wider party, and he lost quite spectacularly. But do you think Rishi Sunak could be the resolution? We've had so many prime ministers. Everybody seems to be saying Britain should go to a general election. When you're in India, when you're in Australia, how are individuals looking at Britain at the moment?
I think they feel it's a mess. Okay, it's a big mess where they don't know what they're doing. It has happened in Australia. I have lived in Australia for 20 years. There was a stage when the prime ministers used to come and go every year, and we have seen that in Australia itself. But I think in the UK, one has to be really careful, because UK holds a stature in defense and economy. They are one of the biggest economies in Europe. So they really have to be careful how they handle this. And once again, with the war in Ukraine, energy prices going up, UK households facing pressure, you need a safe pair of hands who really knows how to handle economy, how to handle the pound, how to handle debt. If that is not done properly, on one hand, we have interest rates going up quite tremendously. Mortgages are going up, right? The oil price is going up, right? So all those things are happening. And on one hand, if we don't have stability in the leadership, that can really create a big mess for the economy.
I'm interested, it's good that you mentioned, Kunal, geopolitics and Britain's standing and Britain's soft power. I think we saw a glimpse of that when Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth passed, the kind of crowd that she attracted to her funeral. I don't think any head of state around the world would be able to do that. And there are countries that do depend on Britain's standing, including India being one of them. Do you think that soft power still accounts for anything, or did we begin losing it during the Brexit referendum?
I think if they don't have a stable leadership now, for the next 4 years or 5 years, or whatever the time frame, I think they will lose this stature. Because I think with Boris Johnson, even though he was the one responsible for Brexit, he was the one who promoted Brexit and eventually got it done. Okay, so but if he would have stayed for the next 4 years, right, at least there would have been stability in the leadership. So if you look at India, even though people say a number of things about Prime Minister Modi, okay, but he is a stable leader. He has been there for nearly 10 years now, right? And there's
too long, some would say.
Yeah, too long, but it's a democracy. People are choosing him, and maybe I'm very sure there's a high chance. I believe he will be there for the next 5 years as well. So he might be there for 15 years. But that brings stability. Indian economy is doing well. The growth rate is doing well. The defense is doing well. Okay, and India has got a good stature among the world nations because of Prime Minister Modi, and that's what's needed in the UK right now. You need a stable leadership. Whether it's Liz Truss, if it's Liz Truss, then she has to be there for the long term to turn things around.
Gosh, yes, there for the long term. Let's see if she's there by the end of this show. I'm not so sure about that, Kunal. Let's step back a little bit and look at a business around the world. You run your own successful media firm. I know you're also a wealth advisor and manager too. Is business tough at the moment?
In UK, it's tough, I would say. In UK, it's tough. It's very tough right now. The markets are tough. The financial markets are tough. The stock markets are not doing that well right now. Interest rates are going up. Inflation is high. Food prices are high. Fuel prices are high. So, something has to give up here. So, either the central banks, they're trying very hard to bring inflation down, for which interest rates have to go up, because then people will stop buying new cars, new properties, maybe new clothes, and they will start saving the money. Right now, I think we have full employment in a number of countries. US has a record unemployment. Australia has that. UK has that, right? So people have the money. They're spending it right now. If interest rates go up, people will feel that pinch and they will start spending less. So I think that is something that needs to come, and central banks are trying for that.
Yes. Do you think that perhaps the West may have misplayed the game in the war between Russia and Ukraine? Because, of course, that's caused a lot of fallout. That's what surged the energy and the gas prices. Gas prices are surging this morning because the EU just cannot come together and find a solution to some of the issues that are happening. In British mainstream press, you dare say a positive word about Russia, but they're not doing as bad as people would have thought.
Yep. And the question needs to be asked, okay, in these. So here is the challenge for the existing Prime Minister. Or even the past Prime Minister, Mr. Johnson, do you take the big leap and do you send, as they say, feet on the ground, which US has said they will not do it, UK has said they will not do it. They're supplying the weapons, but they're not sending the troops in. So in a certain way, I agree with that, because that could make the conflict much bigger, and that could further hurt the UK economy. Okay, but if the conflict turns out to be much bigger, okay, then obviously there would be a need for that. Yes. But if you look at what Russia has done, the other European nations are now joining EU. They are not waiting, or they are not worried about Russia anymore. So in a certain way, that is positive. But at some stage, this conflict needs to end, because the European gas prices, the European fuel prices are really being affected by this conflict.
Yes, of course. It's also bringing food insecurity in Africa, because, they were dependent upon certain grains from Russia and Ukraine. We're running out of time, but before I let you go, Kunal, you are a businessman. We were saying off there it's good to be positive. What are some of the positives that we can look into as we approach 2023?
I always joke with people that my blood group is B positive.
That's a good one.
But in saying that, I just want to say that, people need to be positive about the economy. The economy is not that bad, okay? Yes, there are a few issues, but it's not that bad, right? It's not the financial crisis of 2008.
Really?
I don't think so, no. I really believe there's a lot of positivity in terms of business. I think it's going to come back. Yes, there are a few challenges right now, but it's going to come back. I think one of the big positives in the UK is that, we have the unemployment rate is, not that bad. There's pretty much full employment or high employment among the people. So that's another positive. And also, if you look at this, I think the technology sector has taken a hit in the last 12 months. But once again, the UK tech sector, the UK startup scene is still pretty buoyant.
It is thriving.
Yes, it is thriving. So that there are a lot of positives. So I always say, be positive.
Be positive. I'm going to try. I'm going to stick that on my T-shirt and wear it with pride, but keeping my fingers crossed behind my back. Kunal Sawhney, entrepreneur, financial professional, and the CEO and founder of Kalkine Media. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Have a good one.